Good morning. Welcome to TERRA at Home. We are downtown Oakville at Right Impressions. I'm here with Troy Chalet and this beautiful little store that has been here for quite some time now and has expanded.
That's right.
And become more beautiful. And what a great little place to come shopping and find the perfect little items. Now, obviously, besides the stationery and beautiful cards, we want to talk a little bit more. We want to make that focus today on again, having a beautiful pen and maybe just your home office and organization at home.
Absolutely. And it's something that's always overlooked in our houses, or much overlooked. These little indulgences, and functional too. Home organization can reduce stress, and it's also accessorization. So,
so do it right? If we're going to do it, we might as well do it right.
That's right. Make the right impression.
And exactly. So, I mean, as we're talking, let's go down from this end here. Having a beautiful file folders. I mean, these are gorgeous.
Absolutely. Some vintage prints, both from Italy and other locations. Just a fun way to organize, differentiate your files, and again, it's accessorizing. Beautiful paper quality. Just a great way to add ornamentation to your home office.
And as electronic as we are these days, we still need to have hard copies of some things.
Well, absolutely.
Right?
I mean, I think we embrace technology, but there's a balance there for both. Analog and digital.
Yes.
I find very much I need to see everything before I can condense it.
I agree.
And this is again a great way, whether it's file folders, boxes, just simple cardboard boxes for organization.
But better than a shoebox, right?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people do use shoeboxes. I've caught myself a few times doing that with having to keep some CDs or DVDs or things like that.
Absolutely.
Buy something pretty, because then
well, that's
just
right.
Makes sense.
Then you don't have to stuff it underneath the table, or you can accessorize your decor as well as ornament your work. Lacquer boxes.
Oh, those are nice.
Very beautiful. Both for jewelry, again, pens, clips, those that pile I have to deal with immediately. Depending on how you organize, the urgency of your your correspondence.
Well, that's the thing. 'Cause a lot of times a lot of people are still getting paper bills or whatever it may be, and they end up stacking, and then you move them to another spot in your office, and then they get lost. So if you can kind of file them away, or
that's
right
right
away, then you know where you can
That's
find
right,
them.
and it's a little treat. It's a little indulgence. It's an accessory that you can really embrace, just like social stationery. I mean, how charming is a handwritten note, and how nice is it to get something in the mail that's not a bill or advertising, marketing.
It really is true, actually. When I go to the mailbox and I can tell by the envelope, I think somebody actually sent me a card or something personal. It's actually very exciting now, because you're right, everything else is just bills.
It is. To think someone took the time to put pen to paper, send you a message to communicate. I mean, keystrokes are great, touchscreens are great, but sometimes you just want to embellish it a little bit more. And it's the whole aesthetic of it. The cotton fiber paper. Someone's made an effort, and it's just as touching as a gift.
So we're talking about, again, good quality paper, good quality stationery, but also having a good quality pen is really key. And we were saying, prior to starting this segment, that it really is important. A lot of people are still finding quite value, and it's almost coming back around, maybe even stronger now, that a really good, a nice weight to a pen is very important to a lot of people.
Absolutely. It's a personal preference in terms of weight, color. The pen industry's changed radically over years, but there's still the wonderful traditional black and gold rite of passage pen, great for graduation or just any time you want to treat yourself. But some of the other companies have done really fun and funky, trend forward, fashion forward designs. It's just such a nice thing, aside from the function, which is wonderful.
Right.
So much nicer than your disposable pen.
A little more reliable.
Exactly. Reliable, but it's nice. It's anywhere from the $10 mark up to as much as you can imagine spending. You can accessorize a pen.
But that's what makes it such a great gift, because you can also personalize it, right?
Definitely.
And I think a lot of times when you're at business meetings, there's still opportunities where, yes, you may have your iPad, but you also need a pen, and it looks really cool when someone pulls out a nice looking pen out of their jacket versus the chewed pen.
Exactly.
That's never pretty.
It's always the case, isn't it?
Yes.
But it's confidence inspiring. It's a personal expression, and it's just a little treat. You look forward to, what pen am I going to use today?
It is.
Whether
Well,
it's
And if you're buying some of these high quality, again, your phones and your computers, laptops, whatever it may be, you might as well have a nice pen to go along with it.
Absolutely. And now some of the pens, even the little not expensive pens, have stylus tips that work on any touch screen.
Love it.
And then right to your pen, so you can make
so that's the direction unfortunately.
exactly.
Everybody has
You know,
to compromise with this digital world, don't
That's
they?
right. You know, the best of both
love
worlds
it.
there.
So now, also coming along with having to jot notes down and writing down, come along with either journals or, again, some of these really great binders.
Exactly. Beautiful journals, either for, you know, personal diaries, journaling, taking notes, refillable, recyclable, beautiful leather, some of them made in Italy, some of them made domestically. Wonderful producers. Canada's a great producer of journals and paper.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Binders, what a great way to...
Those are nice looking too, right?
Beautiful,
Again, when it comes to also a lot of people working out of home offices these days, this
That's
all
right.
comes in again to play, right? You know, having a nice looking home office, you can separate that. That has to be your separation, right? You still have to make it feel like an office away from your house. You walk in there and it looks beautiful and you can work in it, you're going to be a little bit more
That's
functional.
right. You're exactly right. You want to separate, this is my workspace, but at the same time, you're not in a cubicle, you're not in you know, that sort of corporate. You can unplug a little bit and enjoy you know, a little bit of luxury, which also helps you organize. You know, you can either, some people organize by color or by texture, priority, just beautiful accents for your home office so that you're going to enjoy spending time there instead of it being a punishment. I have to go down to my office.
Right, well, exactly. And again, you're spending some time, a fair amount of time in there, so you do want it to be a functional
That's
space,
right.
and again, a good looking space. So let's talk a little bit more in general about your store, because, you know, again, this is just a small little section. You have a lot of different pens that people, you know, people can choose. I guess when someone was coming into the store and looking for a pen for maybe as a gift, how do you kind of direct them? Because there are just so many to choose from.
Well, they really reflect a personality, and again,
Exactly.
it's self-expression. Some people like fountain pens; they're more ornamental, they're more involved, although they're not nearly as complicated as they used to be.
Yeah, they're not the old
some
quill.
people like that's right. No
Messy.
quills and feathers. They're not as
Right.
messy anymore. Some people like ballpoint. So and there's colors, there's weights. You know, traditionally some people like a heavy pen. Other people like very lightweight, ergonomic. You know, there's different lines that are wonderful for just ergonomics. If you're doing a lot of writing, it's not going to fatigue your hand. And others are just for that, you know, the
Right.
card signing.
So it's
and
almost good if
whatnot.
someone has enough background information on the person. If they know them well enough, they'll know sort of what they tend to like, whether it's color, design, again, style. And yes, weight is a big one for people. So.
Oh, absolutely, and it's expression. You tend to buy something for someone, something you like. So it's also your projection, you know, as to their personality,
Right.
and you know,
Yeah.
it's just sharing sort of that aesthetic.
Exactly.
So.
Well, we should mention your website. How can people
It's
find it?
www.write-impressions.ca.
Okay, and again, just a reminder, in the store, of course, you know, with Easter coming up as well, you have all kinds of great Easter things. So it branches off from here. Besides all the stationery, and again, beautiful ribbon and bows. There's that whole side of the store too.
Yeah, absolutely. Our core was social stationery, fine writing instruments, paper, but we've sort of become a lifestyle store. And once you have this point of view and perspective, there's just wonderful things. We look all over to find the best of domestic. We bring in product from all over, and if we think it's good value and great design,
It's here.
let's bring it.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Troy. Thanks
Oh,
for spending
thank
some time,
you.
and I'll be back for sure, because I could get lost in here for hours.
Wonderful.
That's it for now. I'm Tara at home. We'll be back in a bit.
Live color fully at TERRA, where color lives.
You've sat under them and built forts in them. You've swung from them and fell out of them. You've even fallen in love under them. Trees have always held a special place in our hearts and memories. A natural beauty, trees will grow with you and your family and bring color and nature into your world. For your assurance of quality, look for trees and shrubs with the Medallion plant tag. Medallion plants, locally grown, the pride of Niagara.
Good morning, welcome back to Tara at Home, and I'm here with Kinley. We're at Power Yoga Canada, and you, along with your partner Pauline, this is your place.
Yeah.
This is your baby.
Yeah.
So when did you guys open your doors?
We actually opened our first location in 2009, and it was at a different location.
Okay.
And this studio here in Oakville has now been open for 2 years.
Wonderful. So let's talk about power yoga. What is there any difference? What does Power Yoga Canada mean to people who just go to the average yoga class? What does that mean to them?
Right, the difference with Power Yoga is our emphasis on transformation.
Okay.
So you notice at the minute you walk in the door, there's a different pulse in our studio. People are talking and really the energy is more vibrant.
Okay.
And what happens that's different in the class is we heat the room so it's nice and hot, and the flow is challenging. It's a really challenging flow, and you will get the physical benefits of the challenging flow. You'll get strong, you'll lose weight, or you'll gain weight, whatever it is you need to bring yourself back into equilibrium. But the power in Power Yoga is really what happens in the experience of taking yourself to your edge. So the teacher will talk you through like taking you to a pose and then having you hold it maybe a little bit longer than you normally would. And then the conversation that you have with yourself is, who am I in that moment? In that moment when I want to get out of the pose, who am I? And then we invite you just to stay and be, and to soften into it.
That's good, because it really does. It pushes it. It's a challenge. It's almost like when someone hires a personal trainer. They make them work harder than you would on your own.
Absolutely.
So by being in that environment, it's the same type of thing, right? You're working in a class environment. You're all feeding off each other and off from the instructor. I find yoga instructors are so important. Having a great yoga instructor, because they really help you find your place, right? Constantly telling you what you should be feeling, how you should be holding your body, and that I find is so important.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, home practice is challenging.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing. So you're telling someone, okay, you finally got into your hold, and you're in that position, and you need to hold it. You need to hold it a little bit longer, but it makes you feel amazing.
Right, and really the magic that happens is that people start to connect the dots between the physical experience in the hot room and the surprises that they have. They didn't realize they were strong enough to hold that pose, or they didn't realize that they could break through or move through resistance, and then they're able to connect the dots to their life and in their relationships and in their, in their expansion of who they are in their life. And that's really the power of Power Yoga.
Stronger as a person in general.
In their life, and you're learning it on the mat. It's just the practice of, and then you
that's
take
what
it
I think
into the
is
world.
great about yoga, is because it's always had such a spiritual connection. It's beyond just a physical workout.
Absolutely.
Right, and I think that's what makes, I find whenever I walk into a yoga class, it transcends you. It takes you to a whole other place. I feel like I'm in a whole other dimension, and I just kind of want to stay there sometimes because you feel safe. You just feel, and yet kind of let all the other rest of the world go away for a little bit, right?
Yeah, and what you said is really perfect, because what we are about at Power Yoga is community, and it's really the experience of what happens here, and you feel like that. You feel like there's a family at Power Yoga Canada. There's a sense of being part of something other than yourself, and it helps people feel connected to themselves, but more importantly to each other, and then this amazing community comes about.
Now let's talk about somebody who maybe has never done yoga before.
Sure.
I think some people get intimidated because they're not part of that community yet, and they don't know, how do I walk into a class? How can I keep up? So
or prepare before I even go.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Okay, so how does somebody new start something like this?
Right. Well, our philosophy here at Power Yoga Canada is jump in.
Just go for it.
Go for it. All of our classes are all levels. And what you'll see in the class is adaptation. The teachers invite you to adapt your body, the poses, use bricks, use straps, whatever you need
That's what's great about it too, right? Is the adaptation that you can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that everyone is in the room and you see people adapting. Their practice may be regular and strong, and then one day they're just feeling really tired, so they're adapting that day. So as you see other people in the room adapting, you feel empowered the beginners will feel empowered to come in and for them to also adapt and to just take child's pose for the whole class if they need to. Sure,
because that's sometimes that's what it is. It's just almost restorative, right? So you come here and it just helps you just feel better, even if you aren't pushing yourself as much that day, particularly.
Absolutely.
Right?
Just acknowledging where you're at and not needing to compete or to push, and just be in what you're at. And the community invites that it's okay wherever you're at, but just show up.
That's one thing I find more than any in yoga, is that you don't feel really like anyone else is looking at you. You really can just be on your own with, and again, an instructor helping you, but you almost feel more empowered by the people around you versus feeling challenged or feeling like you're not quite as good as the person next to you. I don't really find like I'm ever competing with anybody, which is really good for a lot of people who are just beginning.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so why don't you show me some key moves here,
Okay,
and
cool.
we'll show off to people. table.
We'll do some sun salutations.
Okay, sounds
so
good.
we'll come up to stand.
All right.
And we'll reach out to the sky
Okay.
and breathe. The breath is the most important part.
Actually, and that's the part I find when I get stressed, I don't breathe.
Right.
So when I come here, it forces me to breathe again. It takes me a while sometimes.
So we reach up, inhale, and then fold on your exhale. And then lift up halfway, lengthen your back, and then step to high plank. And every pose has an inhale or an exhale. So we'll breathe in here, and then bend your elbows and lower down, chaturanga. Upward dog, open your chest, and huge breath in. And downward facing dog, hips up to the
And
sky.
it's amazing how good that feels. And the first couple times you're doing it in class, even if you do yoga all the time, that might kind of feel like I'm not really moving very well. And then all of a sudden it starts to, everything loosens up, right?
Up. Let's step our right foot forward to warrior one.
Okay.
And come on up. That's actually a really good point, is that the breath starts to loosen you up and move you and open you up.
Yes, it does. And again, so many people nowadays, with the stress that we have, we're shallow breathing, we're not used to breathing deeply, and actually it's hard to breathe deep sometimes. You have to force yourself, and then after you leave, you feel so alive. It's really good.
Great. Deep breath in, and hands to the floor. We'll come down to low push-up, chaturanga. Upward facing dog, breathe in. Downward facing dog, breathe out. Left foot forward, warrior one.
Now, men do this as well, right? This is one thing we need to remind people, is that men do these classes as well.
We get a lot of men. Power yoga attracts athletes, a lot of men, because it's so athletic, it's really challenging.
Yeah.
And the secret, to give away our secret, is that the physicalness of the practice attracts the physical,
see that.
athletic people. But what they really get, what they really need, is the relaxation.
Yeah, I can
the
figure, right? Yeah. We should mention your website as well, just for people who are looking for more information.
PowerYogaCanada.com.
Okay, and that's one thing, is just getting people in here, because it's also good for your flexibility. So
Absolutely.
It's the strength and the flexibility in combination, which a lot of men unfortunately lack. So that this is where it's a really great thing for them, is because they're learning to stretch their muscles a little bit more than they normally would.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this is good. Even just this. I love it. This is awesome. So again, lots of classes. You guys are open. What are your hours?
We have lots of classes every day.
Every day, all day.
All day,
Kind of
from
morning
6 a.m.
classes.
until 9 p.m. at night. So lots
Yes,
of
on the
classes.
night classes,
Yeah.
and
Let's
come
come
out
up
of
the
this.
top.
We're reading that post forever and a day. So thank you so much for letting us come into your space.
Thank
It's a
you.
really great facility. It's here in Oakville, and again, Power Yoga Canada, and right kind of by the Whole Foods Plaza, so you know where to find them. But we really appreciate it, and I feel better already. Hopefully my cameramen do too. Bill, Steve, you feel good? All right, we'll be back with more Terra at Home after this.
Come and explore the new Terra, where color lives.
You've sat under them and built forts in them. You've swung from them and fell out of them. You've even fallen in love under them. Trees have always held a special place in our hearts and memories. A natural beauty, trees will grow with you and your family and bring color and nature into your world. For your assurance of quality, look for trees and shrubs with the Medallion plant tag. Medallion plants, locally grown, the pride of Niagara.
Welcome back to Terra at Home. We are at Stir Kitchens in Burlington, and we're back with Chef Rachel. And a lot of people hearing about quinoa. Officially, most people know how to pronounce it now, even though it's an ancient grain. It's been around forever and a day.
Yes.
You're making something interesting. I've used quinoa more just for salads, but you're making a quinoa hash?
Yes.
Cool. Breakfast. We're making breakfast.
It is. Yeah,
Perfect.
it's a nice breakfast dish, but you can have it at any time of the day, even. But it's a fancy breakfast. We're using a nice baguette instead of just regular sliced bread, and we're going to fry up some eggs later to put on
nice.
top. But we'll get started with the hash because we want to get the potatoes cooking. So I've got my pan really nice and hot now with a little bit of olive oil in it. Quickly chop up some garlic, rough chop. I like.
So have you pre-cooked the potatoes at all?
No.
Okay. I know.
No.
Sometimes when I do this, something like this, I will throw them in the microwave for a little bit,
Yes.
just because I don't have the patience to watch them cook for too long. But you've cut them fairly small, right? So that makes it a little easier too.
Yeah, I do pre-cook them sometimes as well, depending on how much time you have. These aren't, but you're right. The smaller they are, the faster they're going to cook anyways. So get started with the garlic, and then I like to put the potatoes in right away and get them cooking, because they will take the longest. You always want to be putting things into your pan in the correct order.
Yeah, there's the proper order of how long they need to cook.
Good. That's sizzling.
That's a hot pan.
So I like to just leave this for a couple minutes because I like them to kind of get brown and dark and crispy.
Okay.
So we'll just let that be for a minute, and I'll go on to tell you what else we're gonna do. All right. So we've got a medium-high heat. Once these have cooked for a couple minutes, we're gonna add in some onion and peppers. Okay. I have a little bit of white and red, a couple kinds of peppers, whatever you kind of have on hand.
Typically what
is
you would
good.
think of would be in a hash, right?
We'll top it off with some green onions later and our egg. Some herbs, fresh herbs. So I like rosemary, so we can chop a bit of this up as well while we're talking and add that in. But again, any fresh herbs that you have at home would be nice in here.
That always takes it up a notch too, right? When you, a lot of times people don't think to add herbs to their breakfast meals as much, do they? It's just sort of straightforward, easy to just cook an egg and some bacon or whatever, but it's nice when you're making something like this, especially if you're saying like, say tomorrow, you know, being Sunday, make a nice meal, you have time in the morning to get up and make something like this. It is kind of fancy.
Yeah, herbs always add a lot of extra flavor, so. Okay, let's check on this, because we don't want the garlic to burn.
That's the hard part, right? When you're trying to brown those potatoes, but without the garlic burning. But again, those pans are hot.
Okay, we'll just add a little bit more oil.
Okay.
Okay, great. We'll keep that cooking. All right, so next, the star of the dish, the quinoa that we're going to mix in with this. So, like you said, quinoa's been around for a long time. It's starting to become more and more popular now because of the health benefits that it has.
Right.
Has a lot of protein in it. So, for this dish, there's no meat in this dish, but you get your protein from this, from the quinoa, from the fried egg. You can always add actually some sausage or ham into this too as well.
Would be good.
That'd be really good.
Yeah.
But just has a lot of great
and good
great
fiber
health.
too, right? Because it is a grain. So it just makes more sense for a lot of people who can't have other types of grains. It seems to be, for some reason, they can eat quinoa. So that's nice. So this is it cooked. So you've cooked it for this particular recipe ahead of time, which makes sense, right? You're saying it's basically kind of like cooking rice.
Yes. Yeah. You just want to put it into a pot with water. So about a half a cup of quinoa, which is about this much, to 1 cup of water, usually is the general guideline. In a pot, bring it to a boil, let it simmer with the lid on for about 15 minutes, and then you just kind of fluff it up like you would the rice. But just as a guideline, 1 cup of quinoa, well this is half a cup, about 1 cup of raw quinoa cooked makes a lot.
We're just going to go with a lot. But it does. It's one of those things people have problems with when you're cooking a grain like that with rice or pasta. It always makes so much more than you thought it would. For some reason, you try to eye it, but quinoa is one of those magical ones. You're right, it explodes into. But then you can use it for everything. So keep it in your fridge.
Yes.
And just keep adding other ingredients throughout the week and use it.
Exactly.
This is so good for
you.
you.
Like you said, salads is one of the most popular ways to eat it. So you can add it into, a green leafy salad. Or sometimes I just make quinoa salad on its own, right? Which I have done on the show before, adding different ingredients in with just the quinoa.
Okay.
So just to give you a rough idea, I cooked a cup of quinoa, and this is about a third of it. So it does make quite a bit.
Right. And I've actually recently did a recipe where you stuff quinoa in with ground turkey in a pepper. You can stuff it, so it adds a grain and another nutritional element to it. You can add it to the meat and into the pepper.
Sounds great.
So it's left over and put it in there. So another way to...
Yeah, great way to use up all your leftover vegetables.
Versus using a rice, you're using that in place of your rice.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we'll add the onions now and the peppers.
Okay.
At this time, we can also add our fresh rosemary, some salt and pepper. And I'm just gonna cook this until I think the potatoes are done to my liking.
Okay.
And then that's when we'll mix in the already cooked quinoa into the pan, and it'll all be nice and hot. So again, just keep this on for a little while longer. It's not gonna overcook, it's gonna be okay there. And we'll just talk about the base of our hash here. We're just using a whole grain baguette.
Right.
So like I said, instead of your plain toast, make it a little fancy, cut it on a nice big bias, and you have some nice long pieces. So just toast those in the oven 5 to 8 minutes or so until they're crisp, and that's what we'll use to put our hash on top of. And then when we come back, I'll fry up an egg
I love that.
as well.
That's the best part, right? You have like a nice runny egg and just put that on top and you're good to go. Oh, and that.
Sorry, I got a little excited
That's
about
okay.
my Tabasco.
It's because it's spicy.
I like a little bit of
right
hot.
off the table.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll add a little bit of that
We're
in.
going to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll put this all together for you. Sounds like a good breakfast.
Live color fully at TERRA, where color lives.
You've sat under them and built forts in them. You've swung from them and fell out of them. You've even fallen in love under them. Trees have always held a special place in our hearts and memories. A natural beauty, trees will grow with you and your family and bring color and nature into your world. For your assurance of quality, look for trees and shrubs with the Medallion plant tag. Medallion plants, locally grown, the pride of Niagara.
Welcome back to TERRA at Home. We are finishing up our quinoa hash, and it is smelling really good in here. Again, with the addition of the herbs. You've cooked, fried an egg.
Yes.
So,
So that only takes a couple minutes. The toast is done, 8 minutes at 350 or so. So this is nice and dark in color. That's the way that I like it. We'll add the quinoa now.
Now, you haven't seasoned the quinoa at all. It's just
No.
cooked as it is, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can add all the quinoa. We'll add a little bit of green onion for some nice color.
Yeah. This is definitely going to fill you up kind of meal, right? This is going to carry you for a while because, again, the protein in the quinoa and then having protein in the egg as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very good way to start your morning.
The quinoa's already warm because you've prepared it, and so basically that's it.
That's it.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of neat.
So mix it all well, and then we'll top our toast with it. This part's a little messy because the toast is so.
We'll let you plate that,
so thin.
and I'll mention our website, terragreenhouses.com, for more information. You can find out this recipe and all of Chef Rachel's recipes. And again, something that, again, you can make on the weekends if you have a little bit more time on your hands and you want a nice hearty breakfast versus the breakfast we're so used to during the week when we're running out the door and making a quick shake or having a bowl of cereal or something. So this is something a little more involved, but again, you could reheat this. So I'm thinking this could be a Monday morning treat. So this is awesome.
Yeah, so there you
Really,
go.
really yummy.
And we'll top it with the egg.
Fried egg. And again, as you're saying, some sausage in the hash would be amazing.
Yes.
That would be great. So obviously this right now is vegetarian if you do eat eggs, but adding some sausage or a pancetta or putting some bacon on the side and you have a happening breakfast.
Yeah.
I love it. Really cool.
Finish it off with some rosemary.
Oh,
If you have-
see. We'll have to take pictures of that one too.
Yeah,
Looks
if you
good.
have guests, you know,
Yes.
it makes it look nice.
They'll
nice
never
and
leave
fancy.
though, Rachel. If you have guests, they'll never leave. All right, that's it for now. We'll see you again next week on TERRA at Home.